What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel. It's Sunday, July the 21st, and in this video I'm going to be discussing the 26-man squad flying right now on their way to United States for the Razzmatazz pre-season tour that we're all getting used to, and I'm actually getting a little bit fed up of, but more on that later. Anyway, before we get started, do hit the like, because for a channel this size, it makes all the difference. And if you like the content, then go ahead and subscribe. There's plenty more of this to come. But before I even get to the 26-man squad, I just want to welcome Tommy Setford, England's under-17s, under-18s keeper, to Arsenal. His signing was announced just in time for him to make the plane to the US tour. He's described as a wonder kid, a very accomplished young goalkeeper who's a free agent after his time at Ajax. Now, if you'd said to me at the start of the season that we would have signed 3 goalkeepers before we signed anyone else in this transfer window, I would have been a bit surprised, because, you know, from all the talk last season, goalkeeper was a position that didn't really feel like we were short. If anything, people kept telling us we had too many good goalkeepers. Now, we have lost Arthur Okonkwo, and Carl Hayne, who recently signed a contract extension, looks like he's going out on loan. But the first signing of the transfer window was Lucas Nygaard from Nordsjælland, a Danish international under-17 keeper, also considered a very bright prospect, and both of those are on the tour. There are some notable absences from the tour, which I just want to cover off straight away. The first is Takahiro Tomiyasu, who can't make the squad because of injury. And is it me? I'm sure when we signed him, he'd had not a single day of injury his entire career. And since joining us, well, it's been frustrating to say the least. This is another knee injury, and he's not considered fit enough. And neither is Kieran Tierney, who had that really bad injury in the Euros playing for Scotland. And it also casts doubt on whether we'll be able to sell Kieran Tierney in this transfer window. So whilst I don't think any of us are expecting him to really play a part in the Arsenal squad, he couldn't make the trip to United States and was left out. Other notable absences, of course, because of their involvement in the Euros: David Raya, who ended up with a winner's medal, Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka. Both of those two, I'm really glad didn't make the tour. They do need a bit more time off. I'm worried what extent the toll of the football they've played in the last 18 months, 2 years is going to have on these two. And we do need to start thinking about resting players of this calibre. Also unavailable for the trip, Aaron Ramsdale, who also has time off because of, obviously, his lengthy involvement with England. But come on, you'd think he could have played. Of course, none of us are really expecting him to stay. And when you sign 3 keepers, of course, David Raya was the other keeper we signed. I know he's already here, but we made the loan permanent. So having signed 3 keepers, Aaron Ramsdale, I think, is missing a chance to come to the United States if there was any hope of him staking a claim for the #1 berth this season, although chances are he's leaving, right? And the other is William Saliba, who had a really good Euros where people started to really notice him. And there has been some speculation that he might be on his way out. It's really unlikely. Riccardo Calafiore, of course, hasn't quite signed yet, but that deal is done and dusted, and he didn't quite get there in time to make the trip. But he might be joining others who are joining later. So Gabriel Magalhães and Gabriel Martinelli, of course, involved in Brazil's disappointing Copa America, will not be leaving today, but will be joining from July 25th. So they don't get to play the thrilling game against Bournemouth, but they will be available for the others. And alongside them, Kai Havertz is also on an extended break, but will be able to make the tour at that later date. Now, also just want to quickly touch on another player I did a video about yesterday who isn't in the squad, and that's Chido Obi Martin. And thank you so much for your comments. I think there is, generally speaking, it's fair to say that there is some concern that we weren't able to talk Chido Obi Martin into staying, and it now looks like he might be going to Manchester United. This is a player who scored 32 goals in 21 games, scored 10 against Liverpool, 7 against Norwich, hunted down by Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund. Lots of teams are really interested in him. It looks like he's decided to go to Man United, and there was news that came out today as to exactly what happened. What seems to have happened is that he was considering his options, asked for an improved offer. Arsenal made him an improved offer. His representatives decided they wanted to play hardball and say it wasn't good enough, declined the offer. And so Arsenal had a bit of a hissy fit and then said he has to leave. So I'm concerned about that because I feel that that is a really silly thing to do when you have a player who's wanted by a host of Europe's top clubs. And it feels a little bit like we threw our toys out of the pram. We could have maybe made another offer. People saying that Chido Obi-Martin is greedy, he's too young for us to know if he's any good. This would have been exactly the kind of situation I think we would have gotten a better look at him, right? But he will not be joining. He is leaving, and he's actually being kicked out by Arsenal. I really hope he doesn't go on to be another Andy Cole at Manchester United, because this feels like it was utterly avoidable. If you haven't seen the video I did yesterday, I'll put the link in the description. It should pop up now, actually, and give that a view. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So let's have a look at the players who are definitely going. And in goalkeepers, now that we're blessed with so many, even without Raya and Ramsdale, we are taking 4. Carl Hayne, last season's third choice goalkeeper, didn't get any minutes, and I think he's on loan. Tommy Setford and Lucas Nygaard, the 2 wonder kids we've signed in that position. And Alexi Rojas, who's been with the academy for a while now and may get some game time. Defenders, Ben White, obviously not involved in the Euros, although that may now change with Gareth Southgate leaving England. He may be ready to step up and play at the right back position for England. I think we do need someone to replace Kyle Walker. Then Zinchenko, who is not exactly a fan's favourite. I don't know why he gets the abuse. I don't know why he's not more loved by us. I think he really was a player who helped us transition to a title challenging side. Maybe he'll be able to show the best of himself in this USA Razzmatazz tour. But along with him is Jurrien Timber, who many people at this point consider our best left back, even though he's barely played minutes there for us. But he will be going, as is Josh Nichols, a 17-year-old right back, highly considered in the academy. Then there's Jacob Kivior and Aidan Heaven, who's a highly regarded, again, 17-year-old centre-back at the club. And then there's Omar Rekic, who has to have had the most frustrating loan experience that you could possibly imagine. Having played for Wigan and not done too badly, he secured a loan move to Swiss team Servette. They forgot to fill in the appropriate paperwork, didn't register him for the league, and he wasn't able to play any minutes at all. So he joins us, hopefully not having just filled himself up too much on Toblerone. In the midfield, Thomas Partey is in the squad. It's increasingly looking like nobody wants Thomas Partey and that he will be seeing out the last year of his contract at Arsenal. Probably has knock-on for us not signing a defensive midfielder, or at least we don't seem linked with too many. But Jorginho also joins, another really good defensive midfielder, probably in the last year of his contract with us. Michael Rosiak, who if you watch the youth team, you will know has a wicked free kick on him, and something I think we could definitely do with. Be interested in seeing how much game time he gets. Miles Lewis-Skelly, the defensive midfielder, who is actually one of my favourite players in the youth team setup, will be joining the squad, hopefully to get minutes. He's being considered as a player that can step into the first team this season and potentially be retrained as a left-sided, as a left back, a sort of inverted left back who can play in that defensive midfield position. He is older than Kobe Mainu. Again, I'm starting to think we just wait too long to give these players a chance. I mean, if Lamine Yamal was an Arsenal player, he'd probably be watching the Euros having done a loan at Oldham or something, right? Actually, that makes me think, do Oldham still exist? Have I just shown my age there? Anyway, other players that are joining, Martin Odegaard, captain, of course not involved in the Euros because Norway are bobbins, and Emil Smith-Rowe. Now, this is interesting because Arteta threw in a pre-season game against Leyton Orient. It was played behind closed doors, and Emil Smith-Rowe not only scored minutes after being brought on, but was actually given the captain's armband. I read with great interest that his representatives have told clubs like Fulham, who are interested in him, that he has no strong desire to leave Arsenal. He's more than willing to stay and fight for his place. And Arteta, having given him the armband, also had some really positive things to say about him, that he will get his chance. So is there a really good chance that we're going to refuse the money we might get for Emil Smith-Rowe and give him some time this season? I, for one, really hope so. There is a slimmest hope there, the slimmest slither of hope. And let me know in the comments if you think that would be a good thing. I've seen all kinds of ex-Gunners and top pundits saying that he should really leave. I don't think that's true of anyone at Arsenal, but certainly not one of my favourite players, Emile Smith-Rowe. Then there's Fabio Vieira, who Arteta also had glowing things to say about. Looks like he's going to get his options. It looks like he's going to get his chances in the first team this season. Ethan Nwaneri, the big prospect from the academy at the moment, the one that's mostly being talked about, the one that should be in the first team squad this season. He's made the squad, and he's an exciting player to watch. There's no question about that. Alongside him is Salah-Eddin Oulad Mahand. I hope I said that something like right. I think that's about right. And Jim Gower. Now, up front, as we already know, Chido Opie Martin was not invited on the plane. Leandro Trossard does join the squad. Reece Nelson is in there, despite most people thinking he's on his way out. West Ham, apparently very interested. Somewhere between 20 million and 40 million, depending on which newspapers you read or what websites you look on, is probably more accurate. Charles Sago Jr., who was a player that was preferred on the bench, at least, by Arteta over a couple of the others, Cozy Dewberry particularly. He never actually played, but apparently trains really well. Now, he did a loan spell at Swansea along with Charlie Patino, and he got like 2 goals. He got 2 games, didn't score any goals, wasn't particularly impressive. I am coming back to Charlie Patino in just a moment, by the way. Then alongside him, Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah, who is now looking bolted on to join Marseille. Really keen on him. He's apparently really keen on playing in Marseille. He's apparently really keen on playing in the French league, and will be partnering, if he does join, Mason Greenwood up front. So, anyway, that's a club now, of course, managed by former Brighton manager Roberto De Zerbi. So interesting that he picked Mason Greenwood. Anyway, that is the squad. Now, as I mentioned, I'm coming back to Charlie Patino because he is another notable absent. Charlie Patino is one of those players who I was really hoping there was a slimmest chance that it might work out for him. David Ornstein announced towards the end of the season before last that he decided that he didn't want to stay at Arsenal, he didn't want to go out on loan again, and he was definitely leaving. And then it surprised everybody that he actually took up a loan move to Swansea. Now, the reason for that is apparently that there just weren't any Premier League clubs interested in him. He is slight. He's not necessarily the finished article yet, but he's good on the ball, tackles decently, very good passer, has a good kind of footballing brain. He is a little bit slight, and look, his loan spell to Blackpool started really well and then went really badly. And similarly, he joined Swansea, and it wasn't really the impressive loan spell that he would have wanted. But he has a year left on his contract, and if we don't find a buyer for him, and it's looking like we might not do at a price that we want, he will be an Arsenal player for the season. Wouldn't it be amazing if he got his chance in that time, took it, and became the player that 3 or 4 years ago everyone was talking about? Of course, if he's not on the plane to the USA, it doesn't really look like he's going to get chances either. But these are interesting times at Arsenal, because we are seeing players leave the academy, which is not something we've seen a lot of, leave for free. So we may have 1 or 2 players that left this summer that come back to haunt us. I really hope we don't. And there is, of course, still no definite news on Riccardo Calafiori. Is it just me? I'm just so boring now. He's been compared to Maldini. He's been compared to some of the great defenders. We've got people everywhere telling us what great signing he is. One thing I will say about it is that this seems to have dragged on. It hasn't really. It's only been a couple of weeks. But he apparently told Bologna that Arsenal was his dream move. He's turned down everybody else. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in an Arsenal shirt. Hopefully he can join up with the squad a little bit later on. So that is the 26-man squad as it stands, who are going to the United States to impress the Americans. Now look, on these tours, when you think how many fans we have in Africa, how many fans we have in the Far East, wouldn't it be nice to do a tour somewhere else? Look, I know the Cronkies own the club and they can take it anywhere they want to pre-season. But there's no MLS game this season, and we were playing 3 English clubs in, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. I mean, it's just not exciting. Plus, the Bournemouth game kicks off at 3:30 in the morning. I am debating whether to do a watch along. I now have a setup which means I could do a watch along. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be up at 3:30 to watch Arsenal play Bournemouth. Because I might have to be. If you want me to, I will do the watch along and just try and get through my day at work after that, some semblance of normality. But I'd quite like to see us not do another US tour for at least a little while. And let me know in the comments how you feel about it. But that has been the news today. Not very much, if we're honest. But I'm sure there are big signings coming in. I'm sure Richard Garlick and Edu are working like crazy to convince Nico Williams at Barcelona is not the right club for him. Although it now looks like he's not moving at all anyway. No speculation about strikers at the moment. Nothing really happening. But we do have a game against Bournemouth at 3:30 in the morning to look forward to. And Chido Obi Martin will almost certainly turn out to be absolute poop. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the squad, about the tour, about life in general. And until I see you again, be lucky. Lots of love.